Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. I've got a new story to share with you today. One that's been on my mind for a while. If I'm being real, it stems from something I've never quite been able to make sense of. It's this question that keeps nagging at me whenever I hear about relationships ending. Why do so many people keep the door open for their exes even after a relationship is over? Seriously, think about it. Isn't the whole idea of a breakup that you're cutting things off? So, why does it seem like so many people still let their ex linger in the background, texting, calling, sometimes even hanging out like nothing happened? Am I just old school for thinking once it's over, it should really be over? I don't know. Maybe I'm wired differently. But to me, keeping that kind of connection alive just doesn't sit right. It's like pretending you've moved on while still holding on. Anyway, that brings me to the story I want to tell you. One about how everything started to unravel between me and my fiancée, Deborah. It's a story that forced me to look at that question from a much more personal angle. Let me start from the beginning. I've known Deborah for a long time, way before we ever dated. Back then, she was stuck in a really toxic relationship with a guy who, let's just say, was not a good person. I won't use his real name, but he was the kind of guy who made you walk on eggshells all the time. One minute he was yelling, the next he was cold and distant. And sometimes, well, it was worse than that. I saw what she went through. Even though I wasn't directly involved, I never tried to interfere or play the hero. I knew she had to come to that decision on her own. And eventually she did. It was messy. It was painful. But she left him. When she walked away from that relationship, she wasn't the same. You could see in her eyes how lost and fragile she felt. But I was there for her, not trying to start something romantic, just being someone she could lean on. Then a few months later, when she'd finally started to find her footing again, I asked her out. To my surprise, she said yes. Things moved fast after that. Maybe because we already had this emotional foundation, or maybe because we both knew what we didn't want in a partner. We fell for each other hard, and within a year and a half we were engaged. It felt right, like the natural next step. We decided to move in together, since we were basically inseparable anyway. And honestly, those first few months of living together were some of the happiest I can remember. We cooked meals, watched shows late into the night, took walks around the neighborhood. All of it felt so grounded and good. I really believed we were building something lasting. But as you can probably guess, things didn't stay perfect. It started on a normal evening. Couldn't find my phone. Checked the kitchen, under the couch cushions, behind the pillows, all the usual spots, nothing. So I grabbed Deborah's phone to call mine and make it ring. Totally innocent move. But when I opened her call log to dial, something popped out at me. Her ex's name right there in the recent calls. It wasn't even from long ago, just a few days back. And that hit me like a punch to the gut. This wasn't just some old contact saved in her phone. They'd actually been talking. I opened the messages, hoping I had misread something, hoping there was some reasonable explanation, but nope. They'd been texting back and forth like old friends. That didn't make sense to me. Not after everything she told me. Not after everything he'd done to her. I walked into the bedroom where she was lying down and asked her straight up, "Why are you still talking to him?" She looked startled at first, clearly caught off guard, but she didn't deny it. Just said it was harmless. They were just talking casually. He just checked in, she said. But I told her exactly how I felt, that it made me uncomfortable, that it crossed a line. She had told me she was done with him, that he was in the past, that what he put her through was unforgivable. She looked at me and said, "If it makes you feel better, I'll cut off contact. I don't want this to come between us." It gave me a bit of relief. I figured maybe I was overthinking it. Maybe it really was just a brief slip. Now, things could go back to normal, but they didn't. In the weeks that followed, I started noticing little changes. Deborah, who used to be pretty relaxed about her phone, suddenly became super protective of it. She never put it down, not even to go to the bathroom. She was folding laundry. The phone was right there in her pocket. If she stepped into another room, the phone went with her. At first, I tried to brush it off. Everyone's glued to their phones these days, right? Still, something didn't feel right. The energy had shifted. I didn't want to become suspicious or paranoid, but I couldn't ignore the signs. So, one day, I decided to do something I hadn't done before. I headed home on my lunch break, unannounced, to grab a hard drive I had forgotten. That morning, I had left the house earlier than usual. I had a couple of things to handle at work and needed a specific hard drive for a meeting later in the day. Normally, if I needed to stop by the house during the day, I'd give Deborah a quick call out of courtesy, just a heads up, but that day I didn't bother. I figured I'd pop in, grab the drive, and be on my way. No need to make it into a big thing. I got to the house, found the drive, and was already halfway out the door when I thought, you know what? I could use a coffee. There's this little cafe a few blocks from home, a place I went often. Drove over, parked, went inside, nodded at the girl behind the counter, and ordered my usual. A few minutes later, drink in hand, I turned to head out, and that's when I saw them. Deborah was sitting in the corner with her ex. At first, it didn't even register. They were caught up in their conversation. Hadn't noticed me. I stood there for a moment watching them. Then I walked over to their table. I looked right at her and simply said, "Don't come home." She looked stunned, like I was speaking a foreign language. Her mouth opened slightly, but no words came. I didn't wait for an explanation. I turned and walked out, got in my car, and drove off. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you how the rest of that day went. I was there physically, but mentally, I was somewhere else entirely. That evening, when I came home, she was already there waiting. The moment she saw me, she stood and started explaining. Said her ex was going through something personal and had reached out needing someone to talk to. She told me she was just being supportive, that it wasn't anything inappropriate, that it wasn't what I thought. She painted it like some selfless act I should be proud of, as if helping this man she claimed she cut off was some kind of noble thing. I let her speak. I didn't interrupt. When she was done, I asked the one question that truly mattered. "Didn't you promise me you were done talking to him?" She paused just a second, but long enough. That silence said more than any excuse she could have made. Before she could even say anything, I asked again, "So, what are you doing with him now?" She started scrambling, fumbling for words, trying to shape another excuse. I didn't need to hear it. I didn't want to. To me, it was simple. When you're in a committed relationship, you don't keep emotional doors cracked open for someone else. That's not commitment. That's convenience. Yes, I told her flat out if she wasn't over him, then it was too dangerous for me to keep investing in someone whose heart might still belong elsewhere. Her face contorted like she didn't understand. But she did. She just didn't expect me to say it out loud. I told her, "Go be with him if he's that important to you." She broke down in tears, told me she never meant to hurt me, that she didn't know how to explain it, begged me not to end things, but I was done. My mind had already left. I told her to pack her things and go. I wasn't going to fight for a place I was supposed to already have. She stood there crying, hoping I'd change my mind, but I didn't. And when she saw that I meant every word, she finally packed a few bags and left. She went to her parents. I think in her head, she believed it was temporary, that I'd cool off in a few days and we'd talk things through. But she didn't understand I wasn't reacting from anger. I was responding to a decision she had already made the moment she met with him again. I waited a couple days thinking she'd come back to collect the rest of her things, that maybe despite everything, she at least respect my words and handle things like an adult, but nothing happened. So I decided to end it properly on my own terms. I called her and told her to come by. I think she assumed this was the part where I came to my senses, where I'd be reasonable. But when she got to the house and saw her things already packed and waiting by the door, the reality finally hit her. This was the end. She called, but I didn't answer. There was nothing left to say. Then the messages started rolling in. First sad, then angry. She tried to hurt me the way she was hurting, called me insecure, said I was controlling, said I couldn't handle a strong woman. And then, of course, the final jab. Told me her ex was better than me. I read them, but I didn't bite. I replied just once, "Go be with him." And that was it. No more calls, no more arguments, just silence. After everything, I had a lot of time to sit with myself and reflect. not just on Deborah, but on the whole situation. And if I'm honest, I felt two things at the same time: sadness and relief. Sadness because I really wanted it to work. I was committed, saw a future with her, but also relief because I finally saw things clearly, not how I wish they were, how they really were. Looking back, I came away with a few lessons. Lessons I think anyone in a relationship should keep in mind. First, trust is everything. Once it's broken, you can try to patch things up, but it's like taping together a shattered mirror. You'll still see the cracks, and you'll keep getting cut in the same places. Second, set your boundaries early. If something doesn't feel right, say it. Don't wait, hoping love will fix it. I should have drawn the line the moment I saw her texting him. Instead, I gave her space, thinking she'd choose me on her own. That was a mistake. Third, actions always speak louder than words. Anyone can promise you anything. What matters is what they do. She said she cut him off, but she didn't. That said everything I needed to know. Fourth, emotional independence is key. You can't build a future with someone who's still tethered to their past. It's like trying to run a race while someone's got a grip on your ankle. You're never going to make it far. And lastly, sometimes walking away is the only thing left to do. It hurts. Yeah, but staying in something broken, hoping it'll heal itself, hurts more. I didn't want to end things, but I wasn't about to lose myself trying to hold on to someone who wasn't holding on to me in the same way. So that's my story. If you were in my shoes, what would you have done? Did I make the right call, or should I have given her another chance? I'd love to hear your thoughts because at the end of the day, relationships are about choices. You choose to trust. You choose to protect that trust. And if someone chooses to break it, then sometimes the only choice left is to let.